Relationships are rocket ships. That is one of my core values in how I navigate life. It's one of the core tenets in what we teach here at Fully Funded Academy. Today, I'm honored to share with you one of the most important relationships in my life, Pastor Eric Peoples. I've known Pastor Eric since I was a teenager. He was best friends with my youth pastor. So we ended up crossing paths a lot. He became a mentor in many, many ways throughout the course of my life and still is. We got to work together on staff for 4 years at a church in Connecticut. And Eric has been a father figure, a father in the faith. In terms of ministry, he's done almost everything you can think of. He has been a youth pastor, a senior associate pastor, worship pastor, now lead pastor, and he brings a unique background to all of that work. He was also, at one point, the top commercial salesperson for the Xerox company, like nationwide. So this guy's got a lot of credentials. He's got a lot of experience, but most importantly, he's got a heart after God. He's walked in integrity for all these, not just years, decades. And that's not always very common. You know, all we hear is bad news, right? We tend to hear the bad news. And a lot of the heroes in the faith, they are unsung. They don't get the press. But certainly God knows their names, and the people that they've impacted and influenced know their names. And Eric is one of those guys for me. Now, this conversation we had some time ago, but one of the reasons I wanted to share it with you is because Eric does bring an experience and a breadth of knowledge and wisdom, having served in all these different areas in ministry. And on top of that, he has a huge heart for missions. He actually brought me and a bunch of other people from the church on short-term mission trips. And in many ways, this is how he helped people in our church exercise their faith and open their eyes to see what's really out there and to really see the power of the gospel. So I'm excited to share this. He's going to, I'm sure, share some things that'll be helpful for you. And I think just seeing things from all these different perspectives can be very, very helpful. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation with my mentor, my spiritual dad, in so many ways, Pastor Eric Peoples. I am so excited to have Eric Peoples with us today. I've known Pastor Eric for 30 plus years. I cannot believe how much time has passed. He just keeps getting younger every year that goes by, bro. You look so good. You look so healthy. You're full of life. It's so great to have you here.
Fine.
Oh man. So, yeah, we've known each other since basically before I was like an adult, which is pretty incredible just to see. But all that said, one of the things that was such a huge part of your ministry in your life was missions. You took lots of youth overseas to missions. You took lots of adults when you're pastoring overseas to missions. I went on a lot of those trips with you when I was a kid, when I was a young adult. Where did that stem from?
Well, first of all, it's just an honor to be here and however I can serve leaders and be inspired. So, as you hear it, hear some of the stuff I share, chew the meat, spit out the bones. I think, one of the things why missions is, first of all, as a young person, my parents forced me to actually do things. I didn't want to. I grew up in New Jersey, and I mean, New Jersey is land of free, home of the brave in so many ways. And, plug for Jersey, but,
Yes.
I was kind of the headset where, why do I need to leave and go anywhere where everything's here? And then I remember my father saying, well, your life is bigger than your zip code. And so I thought, that's okay. That I didn't understand. He goes, yeah, your friends, they like to stay home because they have to. It's not because they get to. And so that was something that was laid on me early on in my life. And then I realized, when I came to faith in college, one of the things for me was, one of these things, I was like, man, I wish someone would have told me what I know now. I wish that I would have had some experiences, and that stretched me to actually see that my faith could work. And, that was really kind of the journey. And so then stepping into, I traveled in music ministry overseas, 6 weeks to travel 43 states, inside of 14 months and doing a lot of outreach stuff, which was really cool. But I love the adventure of going internationally. So I didn't have a problem reaching over the fence, but reaching across the ocean really stretched my faith. It really impacted me.
There's so many people who have walked that same road. And then they go overseas and it's kind of like a culture shock, right? You're like, holy cow, things work different here. The gospel still works, but there are all these other things. You and I have gone to Korea. You've gone to Korea more than I have. It's hilarious, right? Um, when you started to go overseas and saw what you did there and saw the need, how did you connect people back at home to those things, to what you saw? When you're talking about, hey, there's a need over there, God's moving, but I still need to communicate that to people back home who maybe like were your friends in New Jersey. They didn't really need to go anywhere. They didn't want to go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
What was that like? What was that initial experience like?
It was like, best way to describe it was like missional jet lag. It was this experience that I'm having um, where I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. First of all, like the gospel actually works, right? And then I'm going. That was a big shocker because you're trying to your lenses. You're trying to westernize all these pieces, and you're like, I've actually got to lay this down because it's about the kingdom versus my kingdom. But the shocker for me was there was like I could actually do something, and there's a part I could play in this. And I think that there's uh, I, I think there's sometimes there's this mindset, right? Of the I actually wrote my thesis on why people don't go on a mission field. And because it was short, because we call it short-term missions, and people have these lenses where they're seeing these moments they haven't processed it. They haven't had the internal conversation with themselves. Like, what did I experience? Like, okay, wow, culture shock. And now that I know that I can do something, what am I going to do about it? And I came back and I started telling people about how I was impacted, and that really made a difference. There were people who asked you the question, "Hey, how'd it go?" They don't really care. They just want to hear how to go. Actually, it was great. I survived. Then there are people who I always told the teams, wait till they ask you the next question, like, "What did you learn?" or "Was your life changed?" Those are the people that actually, they're by intrigue, curiosity, and even possibly future partnerships.
Mhm.
Those are the people that you can have further conversations. And so those were the things I was stunned that people were so fired up about my experience.
That's interesting. So, people come back. You do this in a local church setting, right? You're taking teams. You convince, in one way or shape or form, the pastor. We work together, at
Yeah.
that church. What was that like? Like trying to get leaders to see the vision that you had, or get them to open their hearts and their eyes to see the things that you saw. Because a lot of those guys never went overseas with us. They didn't touch boots on the
Uh,
ground. What was that like, man? Because
yeah.
I know that's a
So
huge frustration point
yeah.
for a lot
Yeah.
of our,
So
our people.
I can speak through several lenses,
Hmm.
as now as a lead pastor,
Hmm.
as a youth pastor, bringing teams. I think one of the biggest challenges is that when I think about the Great Commission, it wasn't the Great Suggestion, it's the Great Commission. And I've have it also. I'm a firm believer in that when it comes to dealing with young people as versus adults, you train young people and you fix adults, right? So you say to a young person, 15 years old, 16 years old, you say, we're going to go and we're going to spend 3 weeks overseas, and it's going to cost $5,000, and they're like, sick. Like, that's so awesome. They're like, I guess I'll have to quit my job at Burger King. Wow. They're thinking about all these things that they're going to say no to so they can say yes to this moment.
Wow.
And adults, usually the big challenge is they're thinking about all the things that they've said yes to, that they're like, wow, like how can I do this? And so, in the findings of the research I've did, one of the biggest issues that people had was they had not put themselves in a financial position to experience adventure,
Mm.
vacation, missions, etc. There was this gap, this gap. So me, for as a youth pastor to lead pastors, oftentimes what they think is, oh, it'll be really cool for the kids to have some type of adventure. That'd be really cool. And you know what? It sells really well for churches too. Oh, look, the kids are going overseas. That's great. I had parents that are more concerned about going to New York City than Costa Rica. Clearly, they don't know much about geography. But what I learned is understanding who's the gatekeeper, who's the influencer, and who's the decision maker. Many times we waste our time having conversations with the wrong people, and we have the conversation with the wrong people in the wrong room, and you spend your time selling whoever the gatekeeper is on this amazing opportunity, but the influencers and decision makers are into it, literally. And so I spent a lot of time understanding, um, or taking the time to understand what's actually important here. What's the value add? Um, but funny point is that me working at the church we were at back in the day, the first day I actually showed it as a student I was visiting in Bible college. A kid got up and said, "Man, they went mission trip to Jamaica," and he said it was the best vacation he ever had. And that was me. I'm like, this is insane. I saw the shock of the people. So also, leader, make sure you brief your kids on what to say, what not to say. Actually go through it. Have some like conversations, because they'll say ridiculous stuff. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. See, this is something you continue to do. You continue to take teams overseas, which is awesome. I think it definitely brings a different life flow into the church. I remember those weekends that we would have services built around that. And it was like incredible. Um, Now, as a lead pastor, okay, you planted a church, you raised money for that. You're a lead pastor now. You and your team are thinking, and you and your church are thinking about who are we going to support.
Mhm,
What does that look like for you now? You're obviously one of the decision makers. You are
mhm,
surrounded by people who are influencers. I know you're gatekeepers. They do a really good job of keeping the
mhm.
gate. What does that process look like now for you in this position, your staff, your team, your people? What are you looking for in ministries and missionaries that you guys want to support?
Well, I think there's been an evolution for me, especially as a lead pastor, because I'm really intentional about how we sow and who we partner with. And so there's real simple. I'd say is the ask. So someone says, "Hey, I really feel a call to X place." Great, awesome. So share with us what your plan is. First of all, who are you? Like, I've had people, recently, they're like, "We've got to do something about the community." I'm like, "Okay, but you've been here for 3 years and you've done nothing.
Mm,
Like, you haven't made a sandwich for anybody, let alone talk about how we can defeat the poor. Like, what are you talking about?" Right. So there's that reality check of like, is what you're saying in alignment with how you're living? So that's first this, right? And then I look and say, okay, timeline. It's like, okay, are you going for an extended visit? Or are you going and saying, what I'm going to do is going to be sustainable, it's going to be transferable, it's going to be transformational. And if you share inside that story, that vision cast, then what we start doing is visioneering with you. Like, okay, so what does this look like? I mean, one of our first hires was an outreach and missions pastor, because I realized most challenges for people in churches, they're just not doing anything with their faith. It doesn't even look like the gospel's working. So how can I stretch you and provoke you to do something? Because old heaven's back you on a great commission. And this is coming from, I took taken over 1,000 meal mission trips, raised $1.7 million when I was a youth pastor. And now for us, as far as giving and sowing, we always have this number. We like to give at least 3%. It's always like 14 or 15. We always sow it. It's like, that's what we
mm,
do. But
mm,
what we do is we give to projects. So for instance, if you're like, I had someone who said they want to train leaders in China. Was there. It's like, you know what? It would be better for me not to go and to send money for, and so we sent, I think, like 7 grand. It
mhm.
covered all types of training stuff, but it's, it's the mode as a lead pastor. I look at things and go, okay, so I want to partner with what God's saying. And what's my heart? What's our heart for that? The house and the nations. Um, I've heard people say, oh, that's not a country we really feel like our heart leaning towards. Well, you invest in people, you don't invest in a country.
Mhm,
That's just my mindset. Because
mhm.
if I believe in the gifts and call in your life, then you could go from Costa Rica to Guam, and we're like, dude, same mission, vision. That's it, but that's me.
Yeah.
Because I have folks who are we sent out on missions and still out there in the field.
I love that. Sustainable, transferable, transformational. I love that. It's also really interesting that you're saying like you love projects. You love boom, in, out, do this, do that, short stints. It made me think about back in the day when we were like on staff together. We had these guys that were like on monthly support for like a decade and we consistently reevaluate. I remember those staff meetings were like, we haven't heard from this guy in like 2 years. Like, who is like I was the new guy on staff. I was like, who is this person? Like, I've worked here now for 3 years. I've never even seen this person or never even heard them. Right. And then all of a sudden they're back in town and they want to speak on Sunday morning or it was like very like transactional in a lot of ways. Right.
Yes.
Um, from the lead pastor perspective now, you send these guys to do training in China, whatever example it is. How much do you want to hear back from them? Like, I know you don't want to get a text message every day, but you also don't want to go a year without hearing from them. That burns a relationship. I don't know any relationships that thrive when you don't talk for that
Well,
long.
yeah, I think what the one of the key pieces is understand what the house was, how's the house run, right? For
Mm,
us, we're relational, we're super relational. And I am, that's how I move. So I'm not just looking to hear about what's the win. I, any person we support, I know who your spouse is, your kids are, how old they are, where they're going, what's going on. We're standing, we're praying, we're believing. We're not just doing this thing where I remember where before, back in the day, it was like, you gave money because it was like, we felt good about it. Like we were
yeah.
giving so and so money, and you go there and you're like, what the heck? Now, probably the reason why I'm so intentional about what we do is because I remember being burned. I remember giving money. I think we invested 300, almost $300,000. And we were going after, we're helping. And then we found out they actually sold the property. And so
Man.
here's my problem, right? So for little, like my business background, right? People who sow into what you do are investors. And so and most of them, I mean, for someone to take their money and invest, they're looking for a return. So, or, I go, ROI, what's the return on investment? What's the KPI? What's the key performance indicators? Like when I look at what you're doing, is this sustainable? Like when you're saying, so hearing back from a person like, hey, give you a report on the project we sewed into, we invested in. How did it go? What'd you learn? And you know what? For me, if every time you do something, it's a wild success, I don't believe you. Or what you're doing is you're not being bold enough. Like, tell me about something we
Mm,
invested in that just didn't work. Like, we tried this. It was like this was the most amazing VBS we've ever done, and they sold all our stuff. Okay, cool. Like cool. Like, what'd you learn? And also too, the communication back and forth from a missionary helps us to celebrate you and not tolerate you. Like
mm.
if you're just every time we hear from you is around Easter or Christmas because you need more money, it's like we're like what? Like we're not in a relationship. You're just it's like I don't know. It's that's my thing. I'm like we want to help you win. We want to have a kingdom win. We're all about it. And for us, we send out notes and we send out birthday cards and Amazon gift cards to to our people and just how you doing, what's going on. Um, Tomorrow I'm going to send a battery operated Jeep to a guy and his family, and I'm doing that because they need it and it'll be
Mm,
fun, and because
mm.
he doesn't know how to have fun. So guess what? He's gonna
Mhm.
have fun putting it together, and his kids are gonna love it. It's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna be just great. And they would never do that. We just I think if we're in a relationship, then we have the opportunity to be generous, extravagant, I think, and sometimes lavish.
I love that you said, "Hey, if everything's working all the time and we only hear 100% good reviews, like, good news, like, we don't believe you." And I wanna point that out for everybody, and you mentioned Amazon, everyone will understand this, like, I'm in marketing, I spend a lot of my time in that world. If if a product has 1,000 five-star reviews, I don't believe it.
Right.
It's actually proven better to have 4 and 4.5 stars because there's a little bit of credibility. You
Mhm.
want a few people who are haters or dissatisfied with the product, with the book, whatever you're selling on Amazon, because it at least shows that a lot of people have used it. if I'm like on Yelp, that little app where you find restaurants and stuff, and it's got 1,000 reviews and it's 5 stars, I'm like, they bought that. They bought those reviews. Those are fake reviews, right? So I love that you share about and you frame it like, hey, what have you learned? What are some of the struggles? And I think in so many ways, people feel like they have to present a false version of themselves and what's
Mhm.
happening and clean it up and sanitize it. And they almost kind of fake it in some ways. And they feel really weird about that, as they should, right? But on the other side, they go to the extreme, and then you have all these leaders, missionaries, ministry leaders, and all they're doing is oversharing in the name of I'm going to be real and this is what I'm struggling with. And you're like, they're selling their struggles. And it
Mm.
gets like attention, but it's like a car wreck on the highways of New Jersey. Like we all like look at it and we're like, okay, let's move on. And like neither really works.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're trying to sell their struggles, right?
Mhm.
And I think what happens there, what happens a lot, I remember that happened a lot with us when we were in these staff meetings. I was like, what does this guy do? He just sends us emails when something's wrong. We
Yeah.
never know what's right. And then the other guy's like, oh, we did this, this, and this. We need this. And we're like, and there was like no middle ground. There's like no humanity. There's no like relatability in anything.
That's yeah, yeah, and I think that you vacillate between pity, right? You're
Hmm.
like, "Oh my gosh, the world's burning down, we get this," or the best aspect is where it's partnership, right? Where people are like, we're like, "Hey, we wanna help you. We wanna help you get that last push. We wanna help you move forward. We wanna help you start it." And I think especially for, uh when it comes to starting something or stepping out, asking for money, understand who are the people who are the early adopters in giving.
Mm,
Early adopters are usually what it is they believe in you, and so they're going to write you a check because they want to help you do it, and that's awesome. You get people who are kind of cautious, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's great," and they give a little later. That's because they're hearing about some things that are actually shaking and moving.
mm,
Um, and then you get some people who are just, it's like, I call it like it's like obviously the Lord or some like writes a check. I'm like, I don't even think they like me, but okay. Uh, but those are those moments where I think they're clarifying moments for us to understand where we at. If you're beating a drum about how life is terrible, how hard it is, blah, blah, you'll get some pity money. That's awesome.
mhm.
But people if you're always talking about how the place is burning down, you'll never get partnership. Never. It's just, I feel bad for you. And wow, you blasted my email up. I'm like, you're never going to hear from me because I don't even know who you are. So I say that from a standpoint of credibility, which I think
Mm.
is, hey, 10 years from now, you could be somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge because I mean, that was always one of the things that you mentored me in. And you've seen me go through a lot of changes in my life, vocationally, right?
Yeah.
Professionally, whatever you want to say, personally, like a lot of changes in life. And one of the things I remember you always told me was that, hey, man, your assignment is not your identity.
Mhm. Yeah.
That was huge for me because I remember when I told you, hey, I think I'm gonna leave Connecticut, go back to Jersey. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I don't feel like staying here is where I'm supposed to be. And I left after 4 years, and things were going great. But I
Yeah.
knew you of all people would understand. And you were like, yeah, your assignment is not your identity. And this is one of these relationships. I'm older than you were when I met you.
Yeah.
And it's like super weird, bro. It's like, I was like, wait, Rev was this? Wait, what? And it's like trippy. But I've seen our roles change, our
Mm,
assignments change, but our identity continue to grow and expand
yeah.
in God. And sometimes there are seasons where we're super together because we're working literally at the same organization.
Hmm.
And then it's like, okay, like it just has room to breathe. And I think that's so important for all of us watching today to understand what Eric's saying here, in that you don't want to lock in your relationship with people based on the assignment. Like that's like
Hmm.
scaffolding around a building. I remember you said something about relationships. What did you say? It was something like some relationships are for a moment
Yeah, reason,
or
season, or lifetime.
reason, season, or lifetime. And I think, yeah, one of the things that the pictures you gave me was, okay, yeah, we're on a mission. That's what it is. Others are like scaffolding, right? Like we're building something together. And once the building's finished, we take the scaffolding out. You don't leave the scaffolding up on the building. Others are just a lifetime. And I, my heart breaks for people in this space because so many of them, that's all they've ever known. They've only known scaffolding relationships. They've only
Mm-hmm.
known, temporary or mission, like assignment based relationships. And they're so lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary and I are amazed at how many hundreds and thousands of people have come through our community here, fully
Mm-hmm.
funded, and they just don't have friends where they can get just like unwind with or just talk about things with. And it's like awful. As we kind of close up here, like, is there anything you would say to those watching? Just, you've been through so many different roles: youth pastor, worship leader, church planner, lead pastor. Um, Before all of this, before even Bible school, uh, top corporate salesman for Xerox, right? So you had this very, very rich background, but somehow relationship is what always comes to mind with you. Anything you'd say to that for those watching?
I just, as I look over my shoulder, one of the things I think is really important is that you have to be in, I think, the mindset of a learner, because things change. What we were doing 20 years ago, there was no GoFundMe 20 years ago. This was like, hey, where I was selling pots and plates and cups and mugs and shirts and anything for the sake of the gospel. And one of the things I think that we limit ourselves is that we think that we creativity and relationship is so vital. But also, I think too, it's like this cannot be going on the mission field, sowing, serving, whatever your role responsibility is. It is not about ownership. It is about stewardship. And when you move with an attitude of stewardship, then you're open handed. And God can do whatever he wants to do. And you can face challenges and someone can smack your hand, the stuff gets spilled and you're frustrated. But but you're like, okay, we can rebuild. Ownership, the attitude you take in ownership is so much more. I think you're more that posture creates an opportunity for you to move in greed. And the difference between satisfaction and greed is simply the idea of a little more.
Hmm.
Satisfaction is, what, I'm doing everything I know to do to bring the good news, to add value, to bring life, and et cetera. Greed says, you know what, I just need a little more. And that puts you into a space where you lose. I think you forfeit your name. You forfeit integrity. I think there's all types of things. So I would just say, be a lifelong learner, set your heart to add value at every level, at every season of your life. And I think it'll be difficult for people to forget you.
Right. This is so good. I just want to thank you so much, just because you're a lifer for me. And I want all of us watching to just to see that this is possible, you
Yeah,
know,
that's good.
and it's so seldom modeled in the kingdom. You've called me out on my stupid. You've loved me through the pain. Uh, you've you've
They,
you
thank
walked
God for
with
those
me through
people in
the
our lives.
yeah, for real. And for those watching, I just pray that you would continue to build those kinds of relationships. God would bring those kind of people to you, and that you would open your heart to
Yeah.
these kinds of relationships, because it's a two-way street. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that you walk away from this session with that in you as well. So Rev, bro, thanks so much for this.
Hey,
This is
man, thank
incredible
you. What an
as
honor to
always.
be a part. Hey, we're going to distance. We're going to distance.
That's it.
That's it. We're
I
breaking
love
the
it.
tape.
Going the distance. All right.
Hey, bless you, man.
Let's see.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Pastor Eric. And if you've been finding this content valuable, we would so appreciate it if you would consider liking the video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, subscribing to the podcast, sharing this with your friends, your colleagues, anyone else that you think could benefit. We do this because we really want to help you. We really feel like there are not enough conversations like this happening for you in what you're doing and raising support and raising money. And we're doing our very best, Mary and I, to bring you people that we know and trust, real relationships. That's been the theme of today's session. to you that we can vouch for and say we have seen them over time walk in integrity, walk in holiness, walk in step with what God is doing in their midst. And we're just all trying to learn together. So that would mean a ton to us if you would share this or like or subscribe to the channel and help us get word out. It really, really helps. And of course, if there's anything that we can do to help you, go to fullyfundedacademy.com. If you're watching this when it airs, we actually have a free training coming up very, very soon. We're getting towards the end of the year. And as you may know, that's a huge season when it comes to raising support. And we do this training each year around this time in order to help as many people as we can, just put boots to the ground and some strategy in place in order to maximize the impact of their year-end giving campaign. So go to fullyfundedacademy.com. You'll see information there for our upcoming masterclass. And we'd love to just be a resource to you. All right. Till next time, be blessed. And we will see you back here soon.